It was a crazy week 10 of the National Football League. 6 teams had a walk-off field goal kick to win their game. The Denver Broncos beat the Buffalo Bills on top of beating the Kansas City Chiefs. And in other news, the Bills fired the offensive coordinator, and Taylor Swift is still dating Travis Kelce. We have all that and more right here on the Total Horseshoe Podcast, live on Search Sports. Happy Tuesday, everyone. We're 3 days closer to Friday. Elijah Weintraub, Jack Rizzo joining you here with the 12th Horseshoe Podcast right here on Surge Sports. It was another crazy week 10 in the National Football League, and we get to break it all down for you. Plus, we'll get to preview our Thursday night football game in week 11 featuring the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll have our picks and more in just a little bit. But first, Jack, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful today. It was a great week 10. Welcome back, Eli. Hope you enjoyed your break. How are you doing today?
Good. I enjoyed my break. Did you enjoy your break?
Very much so. Yes, I did.
All right. So took a little break. Okay. Let's get into the games. The first game we're going to start off with is the Broncos over the Bills, 24-22. It was an upset. The Bills were absolutely horrible. Horrible, awful. Awful, horrible. They didn't even have a chance. Not one chance they had. Not one chance. They threw 2 turnovers, interceptions, and picks in the first quarter alone. That was an absolute disgrace for the Buffalo Bills. Meanwhile, the Denver Broncos had their best performance all week. It was unbelievable. And I have to talk good about the Broncos because
that's right, you do.
Defense and the special teams were on point all game, but the problem was the Bills were horrible. They were absolutely horrible. And let me tell you, the Denver Broncos, the only reason why they won is because of special teams and defense. But that is the only reason why. I think the Broncos are still not a team to beat. Yes, they have an interesting schedule to come. Yes, I'm aware of the challenges. Yes, I am aware that they beat the Bills and the Chiefs, but no, I do not think that they're going to continue to go far. They have the Vikings next week. That's an easy loss because of Josh Dobbs. And the Bills have been playing awful. This is not even a playoff team anymore. And just to let you know how bad this playoff team isn't even a playoff team, the Bills have fired Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator, who is known for throwing his iPad in the middle of the press box. And also, the new interim coordinator will be Joe Brady. Sorry. And just to let you know, in 2022, according to this report, in 2022, Russell Wilson had 16 passing touchdowns in the first 9 games of 2023. He has had 18 passing touchdowns. So what a difference a year makes for Russell Wilson. Let me tell you, just because they beat the Chiefs and the Bills does not mean that they are a playoff team. The Bills played horrible. Yes, they're not a playoff team anymore, but the Denver Broncos, I still have no faith in them. And I'll let you take over on what your thoughts on all this, plus the offensive coordinator shakeup.
Yeah, it was the Broncos are back, man. I don't care what Eli says. I know how much he hates them, but you got to understand this is now 3 wins in a row. They have beaten 2 Super Bowl contenders in the Chiefs and the Bills in back-to-back weeks. 4 wins in their last 6. I mean, remember, this was a team that gave up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins earlier in the season, but as you can tell, it just took some time for this to change. Russell Wilson is playing like, get this, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. His stats across the board. Oh, what are you holding there?
That's my reaction.
Yeah, he is playing like a top 5 quarterback, though.
It's water bottle placement.
The Broncos defense has shut down 2 of the league's top quarterbacks. Well, Josh Allen's debatable in the last 2 weeks.
I agree after that one.
And Sean Payne's system is finally starting to work. Now, the Broncos are 4-5, so they could probably only afford around a loss or 2 more if they want to get in the playoffs. But it's not impossible for them, though. They still have 2 games against the Chargers, which I think are both winnable. They have a game against the Raiders. They have the Vikings this Sunday night in Denver.
Vikings are losing to. They're losing to the Vikings. Nobody is going to.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Eli. That'll come on Friday.
Josh Dobbs has been doing great, but we'll talk about that on our pick show. But still,
I'm not done yet, though. Okay. Yeah, the Bills, man, the fact if you would have told me at the beginning of the season that this team would be 5-5 through 10 weeks, I would have thought you were crazy the fact that the Houston Texans are ahead of them, the Browns are ahead of them. I thought that they would be either the second or third seed in the AFC, and here they are, not even in the playoff picture if the season were to end today. And keep in mind, they still have very tough games. They still have the Eagles on the schedule. They still have the Chiefs on the schedule. They have the Dolphins again. They have the Cowboys still on the schedule.
This is
a very tough schedule for the Bills. And if you can't beat the Broncos, I don't. If you can't beat the Broncos, can't beat the Broncos. You can't beat the Patriots. You can't beat the Jets. I don't really know what's going to happen. I mean, just don't be surprised if the Bills don't make the playoffs. In fact, I don't think they even are going to make the playoffs. And then major changes would probably come. You'd probably have coaches fired. I mean, they just fired their offensive coordinator.
Right.
But I mean, Ken Dorsey can only do so much. I mean, Josh Allen has the most interceptions in the league. He is a turnover machine. And maybe he's just not as good of a quarterback as maybe we once thought he was. So the Bills really need to wake up. They have a chance to rebound against the Jets next week. But it's been a rough season in Buffalo for sure.
Yes, and I was just going to make that point. The Jets have the Bills next week in Buffalo. The Jets, although have been looking horrible in their offense, their defense has always been good, and that might be the answer, especially with Josh Allen throwing those interceptions. So that will only time will tell. And before I forget, we were both wrong about the Bills in our picks.
We were. I said don't be surprised if the Broncos win, but I did pick the Bills.
Yes, we were both 3-0 on Lock Survivor, an upset for the first time in a long time.
Yeah,
and I went 10-4, won this week in picks. Jack went 9-5. So that is how we stand. The next game on the list to finish up the primetime Monday-Sunday game was the Raiders over the Jets 16-12. The Raiders are now getting quarterback Jack Jones from the Patriots, and Jets have cut Michael Carter, the running back. This is all announced just a few hours ago. The Raiders played a sloppy game, but got the victory, and interesting matchups are to come for the Las Vegas Raiders. The offense for the New York Jets is still horrible, but let me tell you, special teams and defense is what the Jets need in order to succeed. So we will see what happens in the upcoming future. They should get a victory, hopefully, in Buffalo with the Bills. The Raiders have an interesting matchup as they travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, how about Antonio Pierce? He is doing a great job out there in Las Vegas. He's got this team back to 500, and they are also kind of in the middle of the playoff race. So is this success going to last? I don't really know about it. They played the Giants and the Jets in back-to-back weeks at home. Not only that tough a schedule, but it was cool to see them get a win on primetime. They are now 2-2 in primetime games. Can't believe they've got 4 primetime games already.
Right.
That feels wrong. But they're doing a great job. The Raiders defense, really, really underrated. A really, really solid defense. They've had 3 straight good games against the Lions, the Giants, and the Jets. Right. So if you're a Raiders fan, be excited about this defense, and you still have some good pieces to work with on this offense. So a good win for the Raiders. Again, the Zach Wilson effect lasted for 2 weeks at most. The Jets are back to reality. They've got to play the Bills next week. They still have 2 games against the Dolphins. Still have a very tough schedule ahead of them. And I just don't really expect the Jets to be doing much else the rest of the season. Now, Aaron Rodgers says he's going to come back in mid-December.
That's what he said.
If that is physically possible. It's Aaron Rodgers.
No idea.
We have no clue, but we will have to see. But
we have no idea. Do I think the Jets have a chance? Well, consider this. The Dolphins lost to pretty good teams. So they really don't stand a chance.
The Jets did beat the Eagles.
The Jets beat the Eagles. So you need to consider them. As much as we say there's no hope for the playoffs, there actually might be a chance for the Jets playoffs. Maybe not the first 4 top picks, but at least a wild card team as the 5, 6, or 7 seed. It is a possibility. Obviously, the AFC is loaded. We know the Texans are good. We know a lot of teams are good that are surprising than usual. So only time will tell on who is actually going to deliver the most. We'll move right along to the next game.
Wait, hang on. I got the pick right. Eli got the pick wrong.
I was just going to say that.
Oh, sorry about that. I thought you were going to the next game.
Yeah, it was. But all right, next game. For those watching at home, please feel free to chat on the YouTube chat or wherever you're watching. We love to hear your thoughts and comments. Next game on the list, we'll go to Thursday Night Football, where the Bears over the Panthers, 16-13. Remember, we had no prediction Friday last week, so this is why we have to break down the Thursday night game. The Panthers played a close game. Bryce Young is an okay player, but is wishy-washy at times. The Bears once more played another close game, but a victory is nonetheless. Question remains, and how many more wins can they be, especially when they have the Lions next week? Jack got the pick wrong. I got the pick right. And what do you got?
Well, this game went pretty much exactly as we all expected it to, a low-scoring, sloppy Thursday night affair. The Panthers still stink. They have only one win on the season, and the Bears own their first-round pick next year. So not only did the Bears win last night, but they also helped their chances of getting the first overall pick despite winning.
It was Thursday, not last night.
Okay, I'm sorry. I meant Thursday night. Same thing. I'm sorry, guys.
Last night was Monday Night Football.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Well, yeah.
Diggs
That's
and
what I want to forget. It's
John
because I want to forget about this one.
John,
But
the ESPN Deportes reporter, to help you out.
good
with
win.
Monday Night
Good
Football.
win for the Bears. It's their third win of the season, already matching their win total from last year. Tyson Bagent is not really that. I think you should be starting over Justin Fields. You guys are mind blowing. You really are. Bryce Young is not really getting much support there. I don't think it's 100% his fault, but I mean, when CJ Stroud is playing the way he is right now, with Will Levis showing promise, with Anthony Richardson the way he played in the beginning of the season, it's certainly looking concerning, considering the fact that the Panthers gave up 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore to move up to take a quarterback who is not really producing right now. So, kind of a wash season for the Panthers. You could say the same about the Bears. I don't really think this should have been a Thursday night game, but it is what it is. The Bears got the win, so good for them.
Off to Germany we go. The Colts beat the Patriots 10-6.
Yes, let's
we
go.
Both got the pick right. Let's just start with this. Was it Bill Belichick's last game? We don't think so, because rumors have it from Dan Orlovsky, who went on the Pat McAfee show today. They believe he has found out from sources that a location has already been determined as a new head coach and GM. So what team could that possibly be? So I took a list on Twitter and /X, whatever you call it, and I said, where are the teams that he could possibly go to? Well, for one, you have the Chargers, you as a possibility.
I can see that, yeah.
You have the Raiders as a possibility. You have, who else did I mention? You have oh my god, I'm blanking on these teams. You have the Chargers, you have the Raiders. You could potentially have the Bills as a way to go.
Right. Yep.
Because now remember, the Bills are not so great. You have the Commanders, which is a possibility.
I don't know about that one.
I don't know about that one, but that's what the rumors have it. Or let me see. I had the full list here. 1 second.
What about the Saints?
You have the Saints too.
I could see the Saints for sure. Or
you have the Falcons, Chargers, Bills, Raiders, or none of the above. My 3 choices.
Okay, well, this could actually be a whole another podcast on its own. This conversation.
Right. I just don't know. I don't know where he'll go, but I think those are my 3 guesses, or none of the above.
What were your 3 guesses? Say your 3 guesses.
My
again?
3 guesses are going to be the Chargers, the Bills, or the Raiders. What are your 3 guesses on where he could go? If this spot is already determined, it's like a Christmas gift. We're waiting to unwrap it.
I understand your point. I'm gonna throw out the Raiders right away. I think with the way they're playing right now, they're just gonna keep Antonio Pierce, their interim, and make him the full-time head coach. They are just playing really good football right now. You mentioned the Commanders before. I would also take them out. I think Eric Bieniemy is gonna end up getting promoted from the offensive coordinator to the head coach. The Commanders' offense has made a massive turnaround this season, and Bieniemy is showing that he was not a product of Andy Reid in Kansas City.
Right.
So my 3 guesses for Bill Belichick, I would include the Chargers on there for sure. Justin Herbert's potential is just being wasted by an incompetent coach in Brandon Staley. And Belichick, a good defensive mind, can help this talented defense turn around. But it is the Chargers, so even the greatest coach of all time might not be able to change.
And remember, it is a head coach and GM position.
Right.
So you got to think of that too. Who else might need a new GM?
The Chargers I'm keeping.
I'm keeping the Chargers. Obviously, the Raiders, you could add them, but their GM had made some pretty good decisions, I would say.
Yeah.
But
well, okay. So I would also include the Saints. I would include the Saints on there. They're not playing as good as they should be. They are probably still going to win this division just because of how bad it is, but I mean, they should be playing a lot better. Now Derek Carr is hurt, but I don't really think that matters because he wasn't really playing that great before the injury. And I think Dennis Allen's going to get fired. I don't really think he's that great of a coach. Mickey Loomis, their GM, I don't really think he's worth keeping around. I could see Bill Belichick there in New Orleans. And as for a third team, it's a little tough. I could see Buffalo. There's a couple of teams that I think could use Bill Belichick, but I'd probably stay with the Falcons. It's a surprising team, but I don't know. It's
really no Artie Smith.
Just feels kind of weird. Yeah, Arthur Smith is a horrible head coach. They should fire him immediately. Probably should be the next head coach to get fired. Don't care. He should get fired.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Colts Patriots. Enough of Bill Belichick. We'll
Yeah.
discuss when time comes. We'll have to unwrap that Christmas gift when it does come around.
Yeah.
The Colts won. They should have scored more points. Defense is on point.
Yeah.
Key star of that game was the defense. The Patriots could say goodbye as of right now to Bill Belichick, and they're just horrible. And I don't think there's much more to add. Of course, they have Jack Show, the Horseshoe Show tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, right
That's
here on
right.
Sports Sports. So go ahead and check that out if you are interested in Colts content.
Yeah, so it was an interesting game to watch. So cool in Germany. The fans there just looked awesome. They sang Country Roads, they sang Sweet Caroline, sang some
Country
European
Roads is the
songs.
best.
They sang some awesome songs over there. The fans seem so cool. The stadium is so cool. Like the roof closes into the scoreboard or the scorecard. So it's so cool how cool the technology is. I mean, German technology is pretty famous, but that was just out of
the Jumbotron.
That was just absolutely ridiculous. But a tough game. I mean, that's what happens when you have the Colts and the Patriots playing each other. This rivalry is not exactly what it was 15 years ago at the Manning Brady days, but it was a fun game though. It was certainly a defensive battle. Now, both teams actually scored on their opening drives, and then they would exchange field goals again after that. But there were lots of not lots of penalties, but there were lots of sacks, lots of mistakes, just a lot of miscues from both teams. And in the end, the Colts just made fewer mistakes than the Patriots did. And Mac Jones got benched in this game for Bailey Zappi on the final drive. I thought that was interesting. Through a fake spike interception, the Colts had two interceptions in the final 5 minutes to ruin the Patriots' chances of taking the lead. And both interceptions came from our two safeties. I will break this all down more tomorrow, but it was a great game. Back to 500. We head into our bye, and we play Tampa Bay out of it, but maybe the Colts can make a run here. And New England is also in their bye, and we both got the pick right. So go Colts. It was a great win for us.
I was waiting at the airport bus stop, at the resort airport bus stop. It's at the resort waiting for the airport bus. When the play happened, and I just start screaming, "Oh my God, they just did that. Like, how did they just throw that interception just like that on a fake snap?" And you could just hear Rich Eisen. It was just a crazy moment. Huge win for the Colts, but yeah. Join his show tomorrow.
Pretty much sums up the Patriots. That one play pretty much sums up the Patriots season and how it's gone.
That was just like, that is just the definition of how bad the Patriots are. If you just threw that kind of an interception and pick, that was absolutely a joke. Who does that?
But yeah,
that's a different argument for a different day. Browns over Ravens, 33-31. The Ravens played another close game, but again, it came down to the walk-off kick, one of 6 that happened this weekend. The Browns win it by a kick, huge victory for them. They play the Steelers next week. The Ravens have Thursday night football with the Bengals. We'll get into more of that Thursday night game in just a little bit. But Jack, what are your thoughts so far on that game?
Oh man, what a game, and what a way for the Cleveland Browns to get their 6th win of the season. The Browns faced a lot of adversity. They played with 3. It's crazy that they're 6-3 despite having 3 different starting quarterbacks. The Browns are known for having 3 different starting quarterbacks. They had it pretty much every year from like 1999 to 2017. But this year is different. They are 6-3. They are rocking with the best defense in the NFL, arguably.
Yes, they are.
A strong rushing game, even without Nick Chubb. And Deshaun Watson had maybe his best game as a Brown. Did not miss one pass in the second half. He was horrible in the first half and then did not have one incompletion in the second half. The Browns did what they needed to. They got a huge pick 6. And funny how they missed the extra point on that, but then they ended up scoring the game-winning field goal as time expired to get a huge win, a huge divisional win for the Cleveland Browns. 6-3, 1 game out of first place, and they've had just quite a few wins. I mean, it's crazy that we're seeing the Browns just have these absolutely mind-blowing wins. I mean, it just doesn't really feel right.
Right.
Yeah, just a crazy game. And by the way, I do want to mention that for this week in the NFL, there were five games in which there was a game-winning field goal as time expired. 6, yes, six field goals to win games as time expired. That is the most in NFL history. And I'll give you the games for you. The Texans Bengals ended with a game-winning field goal from a backup kicker. We'll get to that in just a second. The Browns with a game-winning field goal over the Ravens. The Cardinals with a game winner over the Falcons. What a upset that was. The Lions with a game winner over the Chargers in a thriller. The Seahawks won it at the buzzer over the Commanders. And the Broncos Monday night over the Buffalo Bills, as the Bills had 12 men on the field on the final play.
That was a miserable play. Oh, yeah. Who does that? 12 men on a field on the final play, and he missed it too.
You can't lose on. They also had a pass interference before that. They had several missed penalties and several bad turnovers. And by the way, those 6 games, in which the game ended in a game-winning field goal for a team, most for any single week in NFL history. So some history was made in week 6 or week week 10. I'm sorry. And by the way, for the Colts Patriots, I actually did want to mention this real quick. The Colts Patriots ended a streak going back to 2012. Since 2012, teams that were 266-0 when rushing for at least 150 yards and allowing 10 or fewer points. The Patriots broke that streak as they rushed for over 150 yards and allowed only 10 points to the Colts. The last time my team did that in circumstance and lost, Kansas City Chiefs in 2012 over the Baltimore Ravens, where they rushed for over 150, only gave up 9 points to the Ravens and lost. Now, that year, the Chiefs were horrible. They had the worst record in the NFL that year. So some streaks broken in the NFL this year. Some pretty cool ones, too.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's take a quick break and let's talk about the NFL standings. 8-1, you have the Eagles. 7-2 Lions, the Chiefs. 7-3 Ravens. 6-3 Browns, Cowboys, Jaguars, Dolphins, Steelers, 49ers, and the Seattle Seahawks. 6-4 Vikings. 5-4 Bengals and Texans. 5-5 Colts, Raiders, Saints, Bills. 4-5 Chargers, Jets, Buccaneers, Broncos. 4-6 Falcons, Commanders. 3-6 Packers, Rams, Titans. 3-7 Bears. 2-8 Cardinals, Patriots, Giants, and 1-8 Panthers. It is so interesting to see the Colts with the Bills in the same standing point. So that's pretty interesting to see in the both AFC teams. Keep in mind. Upcoming schedule for the teams that had a bye this week, the Eagles and the Chiefs for a Super Bowl rematch on Monday Night Football.
I can't wait for that one.
On ABC, ESPN, and ESPN2. 3 excellent primetime games coming up. It might be one of the best all season.
Yeah, for sure.
The Rams are home to take on the Seahawks 4:25 p.m. on CBS. The Dolphins are home to take on the Raiders at 1 p.m. also on CBS. Let's throw it back to the next game. Texans over the Bengals.
What a game.
27. The Texans are good. The Texans are a playoff team. The Texans will go far in the playoffs. And CJ Stroud is the key to the Texans' big win game success. And they also walk it off. And the Texans are also suspending the NFL suspending Texans linebacker Denzel Perryman. So interesting game. Huge win for the Texans. I watched that kick. That was impressive. And that's the Texans, folks.
The new Texans, not the old Texans.
The new Texans. You got that
Texans
right.
Team. By the way, Eli, you did get this pick. I can't believe you mentioned this. You told me that you told everyone that the Texans were going to win. I didn't believe you. I don't think anybody did. And well,
and I was right.
And you were, that's exactly why I'm mentioning it. You did. You somehow picked the Texans to win this game, and they showed why they are legit. CJ Stroud is playing. He's playing like a seasoned veteran out there right now. Now, he did make one horrible turnover at the end of the game, but that did not matter. He made the big plays when it mattered most. The Texans defense came up with some big takeaways, and they went on the road and defeated the team who has been to back-to-back AFC championship games in the Cincinnati Bengals. What a win. This could arguably be the biggest win in Houston Texans history. I know that's a stretch, but they've been around for 21 years, and I think personally, this is the biggest win. This is the win that is going to change the Texans franchise for the better. This is going to be a team that's going to be very good for a long time with CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans. I hate it as a Colts fan, but if you're a Texans fan, be fired up. You guys have an incredibly bright future.
Yes, indeed.
With Stroud, the defense gets better and better every single week. You've got some nice weapons on offense to work with. So be excited, Texans fans. You're going to have a very bright future moving forward. As for the Bengals, not as concerned with them as I am with the Bills. I think the Bengals eventually will figure things out. I just got to get on track a little bit. It's not going to be easy this Thursday night against the Baltimore Ravens, but it should be a great game nonetheless. But I think the defense has to do the defense has to do better. You can't allow 30 points to the Texans at home. But what a game this was, and congrats on getting this pick, Eli. This is one of your in my opinion, one of your best picks of the season. So good for you.
Thank you so much, Jack. And I will always be right when I pick the Texans because I have faith in them. I don't have faith in Cincinnati. Let me just say this one thing real quick before I move on to the next game. The Texans are for real. The Texans would be absolutely proud of themselves. And if they could be a playoff team of the Cincinnati Bengals, we could see them in the Super Bowl potentially. You might think I'm crazy.
Whoa.
But if that is a bold take, but if you beat the Cincinnati Bengals, a playoff team, AFC champions a few years ago, AFC championship matchup last year, you can go far. You can go far. You can go far.
Oh wait,
You are going to be off
wait a
to
second,
victory and
Eli.
success.
We just talked about the Broncos. They beat the Chiefs a couple weeks ago, the team that just won the Super Bowl, and you're saying they can't make it to the Super Bowl? What are you talking about? It's a little hypocritical.
Look at the quarterback. Look at the quarterback. Look at CJ Stroud. Look at Russell Wilson.
Has better
Who would
numbers
you
than
choose?
CJ Stroud.
Who would you choose though? CJ Stroud or Russell Wilson? Who would you choose?
Okay, in 5 years from now, CJ Stroud. But right now, Russell Wilson, because he has the experience. He's won a Super Bowl before.
So you think that Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos are going to go further than the Texans if both teams do make the playoffs?
They have a Hall of Fame coach and a Hall of Fame quarterback. The Texans are great. Don't get me wrong. They are great. They don't have the experience yet. They don't really have a lot of veteran players on this team. So, yes, I would pick the Broncos, but that's just my personal preference, though. Anything can happen.
We have both takes on the show, folks. Both takes.
That's why the show is so great, because we have different takes. It's what makes the show so great.
That's exactly. And we both argue very well.
Yes.
Next
All right,
group,
let's go to the next game.
49ers, Jaguars, 34-3. That was sloppy. At least they got 3 points though for the Jaguars. The 49ers are good, especially their quarterback. And there isn't much more to add in that game. I was right about the upset, by the way, for the Texans. Wrong with Jack about the Bengals. We were both right about the 49ers. And yeah.
Let's just say that I made a really stupid decision by deciding to bench the 49ers defense in fantasy this week.
That's why at least you made some dumb mistake. I was so happy I put Evan McPherson in the bench and I started Jason Myers for Seattle. He earned me 17 fantasy points. I was so proud.
Yeah, he was good. But going back to the 49ers, oh man, what a horrible game yesterday, by the way. The 49ers went into Well, actually, I can't really say they went on the road because the stadium was overtaken by their fans, which is honestly pretty sad because the Jaguars are 6-2. They're in first place. And it just doesn't even matter. The folks down there in Duval just don't seem to care that much about their Jaguars. But the 49ers needed this win, especially after losing 3 straight, coming out of the bye. And they took this bye they took full advantage of this bye because they just went on the road and beat a first place team by 31 points. How impressive is that? Brock Purdy, did not turn the ball over. That was pretty much all you need to do. George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, big games. Kyle Juszczyk scored a touchdown. Unfortunately for Christian McCaffrey, his touchdown streak ended this week. So he was set up for a tie of the NFL record for most touch with Lenny Moore for most touchdowns scored in consecutive games. So sorry about the Christian McCaffrey, but I mean tying the record with a legend is pretty impressive.
That is impressive.
What a disaster for the Jaguars at home. The Jaguars, by the way, have just one win at TIAA Bank Field this season. That is against the Indianapolis Colts. The Jags have won they are undefeated on the road. They just can't win at home though for some reason. Yes. And they had 4 turnovers, some bad ones. Trevor Lawrence is just not taking that next step that I thought he would next year. I mean, he was my MVP prediction, and that's going down the drain real quickly. Defense couldn't really make any big stops. But the Jags have just it's pretty disappointing that they play this way coming out of their bye, but it's a fluke, and they have a very winnable game next week at home against the Tennessee Titans, who have not won away from Nissan Stadium this year.
No, they have not won. And if you haven't chosen them for your survivor pick, choose them. I already used my Jaguar survivor pick already, so I'm disappointed in myself.
Oh, okay.
Next game on the list, Vikings over Saints, 27-19. Josh Dobbs is him. He knows what he's doing. We both got the pick right. After 9 teams, he finally found a true home where he could actually take victory, and I expect a victory nonetheless next week when they play the Denver Broncos. The Saints tried, but were unsuccessful. Good time for the bye, and give me the Vikings, even though we make our picks on Friday, because I just am so confident in this Vikings team and Josh Dobbs and what he's been doing. After 9 teams, he finally found a home.
With all due respect to Dan Campbell, DeMeco Ryans, just all these head coaches in the league, how can you not pick Kevin O'Connell to win Coach of the Year in the NFL this year?
I agree.
What he has done. This team started 1-4, out of the NFC.
They look like the worst team.
One of the worst teams in the NFC, and all of a sudden 5 straight wins. It doesn't matter if it's Kirk Cousins or Josh Dobbs. I mean, the Vikings actually might even be better with Josh Dobbs. I really don't know.
I always say that. Josh Dobbs, what he's been doing in 2 games already has been phenomenal. Look at that one game he played. It was unbelievable.
I mean, let's take it easy here. They have played the Falcons and the Saints, but the Saints defense though is very good, so I will say that. But let me
Easy
finish
win
Eli
next week against
before.
the
Let me
Broncos.
finish Eli.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Josh Dobbs is doing an amazing job. How about him for comeback player of the year? Okay. We obviously know that Damar Hamlin's going to win it, but why not Josh Dobbs though?
But he
This
hasn't
guy
played
came out
though.
of nowhere. Yeah, I know. But yeah,
How
but
can he
just
win
for coming
comeback player of the year though if he hasn't played yet?
just for coming back from almost dying on the field. That in
Okay,
itself. should win.
that's fine. I get that part. I'm just saying, from a football perspective, he has not played a football
They're not.
game
The
yet.
voters aren't going to care about that, Eli. Unfortunately,
I honestly,
or they are. They should care
there
about it.
should
But
be
still,
two awards. There should be two awards.
there should just
Football,
be like a
non-football.
special award for him.
If there's non-football, I would give it to Damar Hamlin. If you talk about in football, I would give it to the guy from the Vikings. Oh,
I would as well. But Josh. I mean, at the beginning of, I didn't even know who this guy. Well, I knew him from Tennessee, but I forgot he was in the league till like the end of last year. I thought he'd be like stacking shelves of Walmart or something like that. But where's he come from? He's playing like a top 5 quarterback right now and leading the Vikings to a 6-4 record. They are in a playoff spot, and that's where they're going to stay. They're going to play very well the rest of the season. No, I'm not going to say they're going to beat out the Lions for the division, but this is a team that if they get hot at the right time, they can make a very deep playoff run. The NFC is not as good as you think it is. I'm not a believer in the Cowboys.
No, we'll get it to Mike.
Doing a little better, but yeah, good win for the Vikings though. They almost split though. They were up by 24 at halftime, only end up winning by 9 or by 8. I'm sorry. But yeah, and a disaster for the Saints. The Saints have just been so inconsistent this year. 5-5 now in the season. Yes, they're probably going to win this division just because of how bad it is, but they're going to be first round exits in the playoffs because Derek Carr is just simply not it. Neither is James Winston. Neither is Taysom Hill, at least a quarterback. The defense is going to have to carry them. And well, that's not really going to get them very far. So Vikings are a fun team this year. Kevin O'Connell should be coach of the year, and Josh Dobbs for comeback player of the year for playing football.
Amen. All right. I have a lot to say about this Cowboys team. So I'm going to go to the Cowboys real quick and come back to the rest.
Okay.
The Cowboys over the Giants at 49-17. Yes, the Cowboys won the game. Yes, they are a team that could win. But keep in mind, everybody keeps saying Dak Prescott is one of the best quarterbacks. No.
Okay.
And why? My reason? You just played the New York Giants. You're about to play the Carolina Panthers next week. You lost to the 49ers. If you beat the 49ers, I say you're the best quarterback.
They lost to the Cardinals.
They also lost to the Cardinals too. Thank you for reminding me. How could you say he's the best player? He just lost to the 49ers and the Cardinals.
And the Eagles.
And the Eagles. You lost to the best big teams. And you won against easy teams. The Giants are one of them. Twice. And I just want to say this. Dak Prescott is not a good quarterback. You have not seen the full picture outside of easy teams. Yes, he's a good quarterback, but not the best.
Not a great one.
Not a great quarterback. He has not beat good teams yet. He's only beat little teams, such as the Giants.
Little teams.
Little teams. And now next week you have the Carolina Panthers. Little teams. But yeah, that's my argument. I just feel that Dak Prescott is not a good quarterback, and the Cowboys, are the Cowboys. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think Dak Prescott is the quarterback?
I'm not going to lie. Trashing on a team who just won by 32 points is crazy, and especially because Dak killed me in fantasy at like 50 points. But
no problem. I'm just saying, don't get me wrong. He's a great quarterback in that.
Wait, hang on, Eli. Hang on. I'm not finished yet.
Okay.
Hang on. Let me finish, please. All right. Let me just say that if the Cowboys get home field advantage in the playoffs, they might go to the Super Bowl because they are incredibly good at home.
That's
if they go on the road, though, they're not making it out of the first round. Please tell me the last time the Cowboys had a big win on the road against a team that's better than them or on the same level as them. They haven't. Exactly. Thank you very much. Yeah. So I mean, it's good to beat the Giants, but I can't believe in them until they actually beat real teams because they beat the Giants twice. They've beaten the Jets.
So do you believe that Dak Prescott is the correct and the best quarterback right now?
Not the best quarterback. He is a franchise quarterback, I would say, but not the best quarterback. And he's probably like borderline top 10, but he's not a top 5 like some people think. But before we get further on this, let's and we haven't even talked about the Giants yet because maybe we just shouldn't talk about them. They are just that bad.
Let's just say Tommy DeVito has to stop worrying about
getting either Caleb Williams or Drake May. So they probably should just root to keep losing.
Tommy DeVito should stop worrying about high school sports in New Jersey as what's his name? Greg Olson mentioned that he was talking about, and focus on the New York Giants because
Well,
it's great to look back at the past, but you're also playing Dallas Cowboys. They just beat you in the first round, 40-0, first game of the season.
well, he
Just
didn't
want to
play in that
consider that.
game.
I'm aware of them. Just saying, if you look from a
Well, maybe. Well,
Giants
maybe.
perspective.
Well, at least if Tommy DeVito can't play anymore, at least he could go back home because his mom still makes his bed and feeds him every night. So, yeah. So, I mean, he's
Well,
covered if he if he
he's
if
living
he
a good life, anyways, regardless how much money he makes.
absolutely. All right,
So
next game.
okay, we'll go to the Lions Chargers, 41-38.
Yeah,
Another walk-off kick. The Lions signed former Seahawks linebacker Bruce Irvin, also announced a few hours ago. The Lions are a playoff team. This year alone is a full surprise for them. This is a surprise. They will go far. A close game, but a win is a win. The Chargers had it, but lost it at the end. And the Chargers. But yeah, I do think the Lions have a chance.
what do you expect, Eli? It's the Chargers. Of course they're gonna blow it. When was the last time they didn't blow it? Wow. Yeah. What a disaster. The Chargers scored 38 points and they still lost. Like, are you kidding me? How do you score 30 points and you still lose? That is unacceptable. That is on the coaching. They have a defensive-minded head coach and they just gave up 41 points. Yeah. So I can't really say much more about that. The
Okay.
Lions, man, what a team and what a way to go in there and get a win with a game-winning field goal at the end. They were one of the 6 teams that did that, and if it was the old Lions, they would have missed the kick or had it blocked or whatever. But at the same time, I mean, they were playing the Chargers, so you knew the kick was going to go through.
We were
And
both
the Chargers actually did almost block it. Jarwin James almost blocked
right.
it, but let me just say though that the Lions have the most creative offensive playbook that I have seen in my lifetime. Tosses, jet sweeps. They put 2 or 3 running backs in the backfield, handed it to one of them. They literally ran it on a 4th and 5 in the first quarter, and they were able to get a first down. They run it on like 3rd and 9, and they get first downs. They play action. Everything that they do works so well. They have just such a great offense. Jared Goff, let me just say, Jared Goff is better than Justin Herbert. I said it. Jared Goff, top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. What a player. I absolutely love the way Jared Goff is playing. I think the only quarterbacks right now that I take over Jared Goff would be Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts. Right now, those are the only 4 quarterbacks that I would take over Jared Goff. With the way this guy is playing, they have a great running back duo with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Amon-Ra St. Brown, career high in receiving yards yesterday. One of the most underrated young playmakers in the league. Jameson Williams starting to get more involved. Khalif Raymond's a good weapon. Josh Reynolds. And how about the rookie, Sam Laporta, who has 35 or more receiving yards in each of his first 9 games in his NFL career. Longest streak to start a career in NFL history, and the best offensive line in football. So the Lions defense needs to work on their play, but Ben Johnson is probably, if it's not for Jim Schwartz in Cleveland, Ben Johnson is the coordinator of the year in Detroit. What a team, though, and they are on their way to winning their first NFC North title in, I think, 30 years. It's been a very long time.
We were both correct on the Lions and Cowboys pick, and we both got it. The Cowboys survivor and lock correct. Let's move right along as we are close on time here. Seahawks over Commanders, 29-26. The Seahawks played a sloppy game, but a win is a win nonetheless. I couldn't really watch it on the Delta Airlines flight. However, I could say this. I did watch the last minute kick at the end. Kudos to Jason Meyer. He earned me fantasy points. So happy for him. He should have won the Hemi Award on ESPN yesterday. That's a different argument for a different day. Another walk-off win. Commanders played a close game, but not enough for the victory. Go Seahawks. They play the Rams next week. The Commanders have an easy win with the Giants next week.
No, Eli, the Hemi Award should have been Alexei Lafreniere from the New York Rangers. Scored 2 goals on Sunday night against Columbus.
We're talking about football. Football.
I don't care. It's Hemi Awards for ESPN Sports. So you're wrong. The Rangers won. They are still in first place. And back to the Seahawks. Yeah, so it was a great win for them.
There goes my ornaments.
Geno Smith, shut up the haters at least for 1 week. With 2 clutch drives, the offense played much better. It's kind of frustrating, though, for the Seahawks that their offense and defense can't play well at the same time. When their offense plays well, their defense plays bad. And when their defense plays bad, when their offense plays good, their defense plays bad. And when their defense plays good, the offense plays bad. But a big game for Geno, big game for Kenneth Walker. The Seahawks defense was good for the majority of the game and then struggled at the end. You have to give a lot of credit, though, I think, to the Washington Commanders. I believe Sam Howell is leading the league in passing this year.
Yes,
That is a accomplishment that I did not think I'd be seeing. I think Eric Bieniemy should become the new head coach in Washington. I think it's time for them to get rid of Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron. I mean, he's a great guy, but he's just not cutting it in Washington. But congrats to your Seahawks, Eli. You needed that win after getting humbled last week by the Ravens. But you have a winnable game against the Rams this week. But then after that, you have the 49ers.
Easy win.
49ers, Cowboys, 49ers, Eagles over the next 4. So
that's an easy win. You know why? Because the Seahawks are home. The Seahawks play better in front of their fans. They can do so.
We'll see. They lost to the 49ers.
And we were both right about the pick.
They got swept by the 49ers last year, Seahawks. So we'll see what happens this year. But it's a new year, though.
Sweep them again. Next game.
You got swept last year. I didn't say you swept them. You got swept last year by the 49ers.
We're gonna sweep them this year.
Okay, we'll see. Well, we'll see. Anything can happen. I mean, the Patriots beat the Bills a couple weeks ago.
Steelers over Packers 23-19. We were both right about this pick. Steelers are lucky to get a win. Kept it close. Packers did okay. Not much more to add for this Packers team. Quickly, what are your thoughts?
If I'm being honest, I can't believe that we saw another offensive coordinator get fired before Matt Canada. I mean, how is this guy still employed? He is wasting all the talent on the Steelers offense. Come on, Matt Canada. How about you go to Canada and just get out of the NFL because you belong in the CFL. That's where you belong. So
Watch
go to
Canada to the NFL. You wait.
Go to Canada. Please get out of Pittsburgh. I mean, I don't really like the Steelers, so I hope he stays. But if you're a Steelers fan, you want to get rid of the side. Defense stepped up, though, in the second half. The Steelers offense actually played well in the first half, then didn't do anything in the second half. Kenny Pickett has potential, I think. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, I believe his name is. Good running back duo. Some good weapons. I can't believe the Steelers are 6-3. And get this. They have been outgained in every single game they've played this year. All 9 games, they have had less total yards than their opponent, and they're somehow 6-3. I can't even believe I'm saying that, Eli, but it's just how the Steelers are. Mike Tomlin, he could be coach of the year as well. He has never had a losing season here in Pittsburgh since he became the coach in 2007. Won a Super Bowl in his second season there. Made it back 2 years later. The Steelers are just a really good football team, and they're playing with a lot of confidence right now, and a can't-miss game next week against the Cleveland Browns for them. The Packers continue to just be a disaster. Well, at least Jordan Love played better, but yeah, the Packers lost again. So what do you have to say, Eli?
Not much.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Buccaneers Giants. I had to watch that game because I was in Florida watching that game with that coverage. So 20-6, Buccaneers took the victory. The Titans cannot win another home game. So if you have not chose the Jaguars for next week, make sure you choose them for Survivor because the Titans are not winning another or not going to win a away game this season. The Titans are awful. They can only win at home. They haven't done it yet.
Very true.
The Titans travel to Jacksonville. Huge win for the Buccaneers. Continue to dominate, but I feel them falling short as they have the 49ers next week. What are your thoughts on this 20-6 game real quick?
Well, for some reason, I picked the Titans, so when I got that wrong, I really thought they were going to shut out the road trip.
I was right.
I like the way, thank you, Eli. I mean, you were right. Congrats to you. I should have known better to pick the Bucs, but anyways, that's my fault, though. I don't know what I was thinking, but Will Levis had played so well his first 2 games against 2 pretty good pass defenses, so I thought he was going to continue that against team that just got shredded by C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
Gave up 39 points to him, but what do I know? The Bucs defense had one of their best games of the season. Levis completed less than 50% of his passes, had an interception, I think took 4 sacks. Tennessee, they're just a disaster. Defense played okay, but couldn't do enough. And Derrick Henry, 24 yards on 11 carries. Why didn't they not trade him to a contender? They should have traded him to a contender so he could go win a Super Bowl. And they're not going to re-sign him in the offseason, I don't think. So you're going to lose him for nothing. Titans are a poverty franchise, especially after trading A.J. Brown. And look what he's doing every week in Philly. He is up there at the league leaders in receiving yards. But good win for the Bucs, and they are somehow still in the NFC South race. But Eli?
The final game on the list. The Cardinals.
We've all been waiting for.
Over Falcons. 25.
I told you the Cardinals were gonna win.
He picked up on the upset. He was right. I was wrong. Clearly, I made the wrong decision, the wrong choice. Clearly, the Falcons cannot win at all. The Cardinals will somehow do good. Kyle Murray's back, and the Cardinals can do it again. Another walk-off win. The Falcons are on bye this week, so this will help them out a lot. Kyle Murray and the Cardinals are officially back. They travel to Texas to lose to the Texans next week.
Yeah, probably.
Your thoughts?
Don't get too cocky though. I mean, it could be a trap game. They did beat the Cowboys. But anyways, before we get into an argument about that, Eli, I told you the Falcons are going to lose. I am done with this Falcon team. I hate this team now. I used to like this team at the beginning of the year, but Arthur Smith has made me hate the Falcons. I can't stand that team. They don't use any of their players properly. Now, Bijan actually had a pretty good game finally. Rest of the
Finally, took him only
it doesn't
5
matter
weeks off.
I know. It doesn't matter if it's Taylor Heineke or Desmond Ridder. This team is a disaster. Defense is okay at best. Arthur Smith is just wasting all this talent on this team. For some reason, likes to use Jonnu Smith the most. Out of all the good weapons they have, he chooses to use Jonnu Smith the most. And the Falcons have now lost in the last 3 weeks, too. A quarterback making his first NFL start, a player who had just gotten to a new team, didn't even know the playbook or his players' names, and to the Cardinals. In 3 straight weeks, that's who the Falcons have lost to. Absolutely unacceptable from them. They're going to miss the playoffs, and Arthur Smith is probably going to get fired at the end of the season. Honestly,
you got that right.
And you know what? I'm going to say it right now. The Falcons ain't winning another game for the rest of the season. They are done winning games. They are a poverty franchise. They're going to go 4-13, miss the playoffs, and just suck. Sorry, Falcons fans, but yeah, that's how I feel about them. I could spend 2 hours ranting on the Falcons, specifically Arthur Smith, but yeah.
Let's now move to Thursday Night Football and make our picks. The best Thursday night game on the schedule for our Prime Video. 8:15 on Prime Video Thursday Night Football. The Bengals versus the Ravens in Baltimore. You know how I'm going to take? Give me the Baltimore Ravens, 23-21. I think they can do it. I don't know how much I could trust the Cincinnati Bengals team. It's going to be a good matchup, but I think the Baltimore Ravens can secure the victory. Give me the Ravens, 23-21.
Let me just say this right now. When Lamar Jackson has been playing, the Ravens have only lost back-to-back games one time. And since Lamar Jackson took over as the starter in 2018, have the Ravens lost back-to-back games, not including carrying over to the next season. That doesn't count. But in specifically in the regular season, Lamar Jackson, they have only one time lost back-to-back games in the regular season. They always bounce back the next week under John Harbaugh. That one time, by the way, that the Ravens lost, that happened in week 2019, weeks 3 and 4, when they lost to the Chiefs and the Browns in back-to-back weeks. And by the way, those were the Ravens' only 2 losses that whole season. They won their first 2 and then won their final 12 to get to finish 14-2. They did lose to the Titans in the playoffs, but that's a story for another day. They're going to win this game 28-18. I think the defense played well last week. They just made a couple of bad plays. I think Lamar's going to have a bounce back week. I think they're going to run the ball. I think they're going to be able to protect it. And I think in front of the home crowd, the Ravens are going to be mad after last week's loss. So give me them. I think the Bengals are going to be it's going to be a tough game for them. And this feels like a must win for both teams, because if the Bengals lose this game, they drop to 500, and it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs. I mean, they're already out of a playoff spot as is, so it's a must-win for them. Also for the Ravens as well, because if the Ravens lose, then the winner of the Steelers-Browns game will take first place in the division, since the Browns and the Steelers are both they both have the tiebreaker over the Baltimore
So
Ravens.
Who's your pick?
I said the Ravens 28-18. I already said that.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so we both agree on the Ravens. But give me the Ravens. They need to bounce back, and they will, because, again, they've only lost one time in the only lost one time in their history, back-to-back games with Lamar Jackson.
Well, that will do it for this week of the 12th Horseshoe Podcast, Week 10 breakdown and reactions. Join us on Friday for Prediction Friday and a recap of Thursday Night Football. What will be an epic night to remember. And as always, join Jack on the Horseshoe Show tomorrow, 7 Eastern on Surge Sports. And as we close every show, alongside Jack Rizzo, Elijah Weintraub. Good night. Go Devils. Go Seahawks.